Welcome to A-Bomb to Zzzax. With me, Colin Holt. And my friends, Dan Snellgrove and Jamie Firth. Here they come!
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a rather special episode of A-Bomb to Zzzax, my favorite Marvel character, where we go on an odyssey through the Marvel Comics universe via the characters. Can you think of anything more nerdy? We're going from A to Z, A-Bomb, as we said, all the way to Zzzax. I'm Colin Holt, and I don't have my usual two companions here with me on this journey. Dan is somewhere in South America. We're not sure where. I hope he's okay. Jamie, I do know where he is. His car has broken down and he's stuck somewhere. Some stuff like that. Who knows? But joining me, jumping in like a true hero, with a lovely head and face. I often talk about Dan being bald with facial hair, Nick, which you are the same. You are the same. Yeah. You look wonderful.
Yeah, exactly. I'm basically like a substitute. Well. Like a substitute Dan. You can just find me in if you need a spare Dan. Bald man.
I'm from a similar area, Kentish?
Not far. Yeah, not far from Kent, Southeast London.
Southeast London. There you go. That's not that far, is it?
No. Yeah.
Not a million miles away. You could be brothers.
You can just call me Dan too.
Anyway, it's wonderful. My wonderful friend Nick Kirk, who I genuinely forgot wasn't actually called Nick Crick. Nick, I met through the pandemic. I did a character called Anna Man for a long time. She really flowered during the pandemic. It was an old actress character. She appeared in her online shows. Nick was a regular viewer. I like to think they helped you get you through. You and a good 13 other people or something like that.
There was a regular crew of us. Yeah.
Fun. And now, Nick, you're a comedian as well now.
Yeah, and I would say...
Well, I like to think that I gave you the gift, but were you already a comedian type?
No, it wasn't. When we did the Animan Zoom shows, I was hanging out on Stu Goldsmith's Infinite Sofa and your Zoom shows and starting to do things that seemed a bit funny, and that sort of started to push me down the path of doing stand-up. So yeah, you and Stu Goldsmith are partly to blame.
Today, this week, we're talking about 3 Marvel characters. We're still in the A's. Oh, the thing is, when we're in the B's, it doesn't make a difference. In my mind, like when you've got to do lines or something. I don't want you listeners, I don't want you to think of this podcast as like doing lines, but at school when you had to do lines and you sort of felt like you'd reached a certain point by certain point, or if you've got to do exercise and you feel like if you change the way you count, it will feel better. We love this podcast. It's great fun. I don't know. It doesn't matter that we're in the A's. Maybe the whole thing will just be the A's. Dan and Jamie may never come back. So there we go. Anyway, we're meeting 3 Marvel characters. Few connections between them. It's a slimy gang this week, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah, definitely. It's Animal Kingdom week.
It's animal. Sorry, that's not a sexy thing. Strike. But they're slimy. They're all kind of slimy, yeah. I guess, in their own way. Anaconda, though, pretty gorgeous, actually. I'm a big fan of old Anaconda. We meet Amphibion, which is possibly Amphibion with an O or Amphibian with an A. It changes, I think. I couldn't quite nail down which one it is meant to be. We're meeting Amphibious because presumably Amphibion had gone. So he became Amphibious. Actually, I think Amphibious might be from before him, but anyway. And then Anaconda, the serpentine she-devil. What a lady. So we'll talk about each of those and just have a little chat. None of them are particularly interesting, I'll say from the top. So we'll see. See if we can dredge anything up. So we'll start with Amphibion or Amphibian, who first appeared in Avengers 148, 1963, created by Steve Englehart and George Perez. Do you know George Perez, Nick?
Yeah, he did a lot of work on revamping Wonder Woman back in the 80s.
That's right. This is lovely. See, Jamie and Dan know nothing. You
got comic nerd this week.
Yeah, you are. So you are a fan. We've got an actual comic nerd here. That's wonderful. And also famous for the Teen Titans run that he did. Looked ever so slightly like you, Nick.
Did he?
Yeah, but he wore big Hawaiian shirts.
I mean, I look like every bald man with a beard, to be honest. I look like Dan.
He actually passed away not long ago. It was very sad, very sweet. And was laughing and smiling till the end, Nick, which I hope I am as well. Oh, God.
I thought you were about to say, which I hope you are, which made it feel a bit imminent.
I'm doing my show tonight. My show that I've been, as I was just saying to you, I'm doing my show that I did in Edinburgh, went very well. Soho went very well, but it's all true stories, which I've never done before. And I'm in Nottingham, where I'm from. And I feel like I'm going to the gallows because my mum and brothers are coming to see it, and they're in it. And I'm terrified. So I think that's why it does feel slightly like I'm going to be murdered. I don't know why. It's very weird. Anyway, if you must know, Amphibion is 6 foot tall, apparently, and weighs 81 kilograms. Which is less than me. I'm 90. I did get down to 92, Nick, and back up to 97, thanks to Edinburgh.
I still think in like stones, which is a lot for me.
Yeah, I normally think in stones. Kilograms feels better, I think.
Yeah, actually, it feels more abstract. Maybe I should start working out what I am in kilograms because it doesn't relate to as much in my mind.
It does feel more accurate, doesn't it? Yes, no, I get you. Is that what you said? Did you say Acura or Adidas? I can't remember.
Adidas. Feels like trainers.
Yeah, it does feel a bit more Adidas, you know? Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Adidas. Yeah, I get you. Blanche Sitznitz, who is the Anaconda, which we're going to come to, is 100 kilograms. She's a heavy lady. She's heavier than me.
I reckon I'm heavier than that.
You reckon above 100 kilograms?
Probably.
Don't find out. You don't need to. Don't even worry about it. So apparently got blue eyes and red hair.
Red?
So Amphibion changes quite a bit later, but in this episode, we just read this episode, and as I put in the listings, you technically don't need to read past page 9 because he just gets beaten the crap out of him very quickly.
Yeah.
And then he's gone. So this story is about the Avengers appear to be in a parallel dimension where they're facing off against the Squadron Supreme. I imagine, Nick, being a comics fan, you know who the Squadron Supreme are inspired by?
Yes, they are very, I mean, it's pretty clear anyway. They're very clearly the Justice League. They
are the Justice League.
Yeah, the Justice League. You've got like Hyperion, who's obviously Superman.
Yeah.
And you've got clearly meant to be like an analog for the Flash, but they have chosen the name of the Whizzer.
The Whizzer.
It just sounds like his power is high-powered urine jets.
Yeah. Take that, bad guys. That'll teach you.
Up a hot steaming wee for you.
Avoid a life of crime. If punishment for crimes, as you know right now in Britain, our prisons are rammed. If punishment was to just have a man wee on you, what am I saying? Oh my God. To have a super fast man whiz on you, it would deter you, would it?
Yeah, I think it's the speed of the wee that makes it punishment.
I don't think he wheezes at all. Do they say whizzer in America? I think they do say whiz, don't they?
They do say whiz. That's why I was surprised by this. I was like, I felt like it's like the sort of thing an English person would chuckle at, but Americans
like
say
Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But whiz, ha ha ha. But whizzer, weirdly enough, there's another whizzer. It's like they keep. Not only that, there's a whizzer who was for a while Scarlet Witch's dad before it became Magneto. Was whizzer.
I wouldn't want that. You don't want Daddy Whizzer, do you? That's not
going for a whiz. That's what we say. So there's Captain Hawk, which is literally written Captain, like Hawkman. Yeah. Lady Lark, I'm guessing that's Black Canary. Golden Archer, Green Arrow. Dr. Spectrum is a sort of Green Lantern.
Yeah, ish. Not quite.
There's not a Martian Manhunter. There's not a Wonder Woman.
I couldn't work out who like Tom Thumb was supposed to be.
Yeah, I like Tom Thumb. I think he's meant to be the Atom, who of course can shrink. He's sort of Atom. He's sort of Ant-Man.
That makes sense.
He's just a man who can go really small. But
Yeah,
Tom
yeah.
Thumb is just small.
Yeah. That's all he seems to do. It's
Not
like,
only is he just small, he's got a big beard all round, like sort of full. His hair and beard seem to be one thing.
yeah, like a helmet of hair.
A helmet of hair.
Yeah.
Tom Thumb coming at you, and they all take the piss out of him, including Amphibion. So in a way, you'd say, oh, it's very positive that they've got a small person as a superhero, but then they all just make mean jokes at him, and he's constantly going. He shouts things like, well, in fact, Amphibion says, little men always talk tough, don't they? And he says, clam up, fish face, which is a good response. I like Tom Thumb. Also, he rides around in like a little top.
Yeah.
It is.
I couldn't really work out what it's supposed to. It feels like a. I was trying to think of it feels like these little toys you used to get, but I can't remember the name of them. Sort of little.
Like a thing you'd press down and they jump up.
Yeah, like that sort of thing.
Yeah. It feels like they haven't finished the design.
Yeah.
It's like a metal thing with fire coming out of it.
There's a hint of, that'll do.
Yeah. Can't be bothered.
Oh.
Anyway, the Justice League are fighting them over this serpent crown.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the serpent crown before?
This was one of the ones where I started reading this issue and I really didn't have any idea what was going on in it at all. So I kind of looked back to the previous issue a bit to try and work out what on earth they were sort of talking about.
Did that help?
Sense of it a little bit. I get the feeling the serpent crown is like a thing you wear to control people's minds.
I've never got the serpent crown thing. It turns up quite a lot, and all the stories it's in are always bad. But it doesn't seem to do that much. It's not like Ben's reality or anything. It's just
it's somehow powerful if you wear it in an undefined way.
It feels like something like with the Infinity Gauntlet or whatever, where there's like a good story. But with Serpent Crown, I think they never really tell you. There's not really a story that you go to.
No,
the classic Serpent Crown.
It's something I feel like I've seen in things, but it just sort of vaguely lurks at the back of the mind. You don't really ever think about it properly.
Well, that's the power of the Serpent Crown. You don't even realize we're all being controlled by it right now. The bloody Serpent Crown. So the Justice League are fighting the Squadron Supreme. I don't know why. Do you know why?
No, again, even reading the previous issue, I couldn't really work out what the issue was, other than I think in this other reality, evil corporations run the world. That seemed to be about.
Yeah, did I say the Justice League, by the way? I meant the Avengers, but it's Steve Englehart, who I think writes. He's not full-on political rebel. Yeah. But at this point in the comics, they're all really young. They're all like in their 20s and hippies and stoners and stuff. So he's definitely just writing what this vague idea he got about corporations taking over the world.
I mean, it feels quite current, actually, that bit, reading it. It felt very much like there's a bit at the end where like Beast disguised as one of these men from the corporation says...
well, you think it's the president is actually, who looks... Is he meant to be Henry Kissinger? I wondered.
I think so. It feels like it's supposed to be an equivalent to someone famous at that point in the US. Not the president, but someone equal.
But so after they finish the fight, and nothing really comes of the fight, they just sort of leave, don't they? It's really, really non-eventful. The Squadron Supreme are in the White House talking to the president, or they think it's the president. But go on. What were you going to say?
Yeah, and he says... we commit the most outrageous acts, turn completely around on anything we've ever claimed to stand for, and you go right along pretending not to notice. Facts don't affect our image. And that feels like that is pretty much Trump's credo right now.
Yeah. It's actually I was quite impressed by all that stuff.
Yeah, I was quite surprised by that. After what was quite like there wasn't much else to the issue, but then that bit at the end, I was like, that's quite an insightful...
It felt like that's all he wanted to do, really, and then he just filled in the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, we commit the most outrageous acts, turn around on everything we've ever claimed to stand for. It's great, isn't it? Actually quite a good little speech. The only thing I didn't get is he says, facts don't affect our image, he said, but then he says, you just look away and wonder why the dollar keeps losing its value. I didn't get what that means.
Is that the kind of thing? It's like, oh, we do stuff, you do nothing, and then you moan that everything's going wrong. That's the sort of thing he means? I don't know.
Right.
Draw on that one.
I mean, it turns out it's the Beast anyway in disguise. So he's just done this kind of, it's a bit like Hamlet, I suppose, isn't it? When he, with the players when they do the Death of the King.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like me doing my show in Nottingham tonight to my mum and brothers. Well, I'll be watching their reaction. What's going to happen? Oh my God! Anything could happen. So the Beast. So weirdly though, the Beast is commenting on their world whilst commenting on our world.
Yeah.
And at the end, he says, "Oh yeah," and then they go away and they go, "Oh, it was just the Beast anyway." But then they're sort of a bit like, maybe he had some good points. Maybe we need to learn about this. So I guess the Squadron Supreme go away and become. Well, so there's a series which you may have read called Squadron Supreme, which is great, but obviously within this list of characters, loads of them are in it. So I've kind of had to spread it out where they appear. There was one called Squadron Sinister, who I think came first, and they were like an evil Justice League. And then the Squadron Supreme was like a good Justice League, but worked for this government where the president is the head of a corporation. But then they did a series in the 80s, pre-Watchmen, which a lot of people, which sort of Watchmen dwarfed, I guess. Watchmen's still better, don't get me wrong. But it's pretty cool where in that world, the superheroes have decided to take over and, have created and are trying to do the right thing. But very quickly, they end up mind wiping people who are wrong-uns, all that kind of stuff. And sort of, becoming the world power and control all the countries. But it's pretty cool. And you've got Nighthawk, who isn't in this, who is basically the Batman of that world, sort of forms a resistance.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering that when I read it. I was like, I can't work out who the Batman is supposed to be.
Yeah. I don't know why there's such. Maybe this is who. I think Steve Englehart did work on Justice League around this time. So maybe this is who the characters were at that time.
Oh, yeah, it might be. Unless Tom Thumb's supposed to be Batman, maybe some.
Well, maybe he's got the gadgets, and he's pretty awesome, and he's someone who can, and he's got a grumpy attitude. Maybe he's Batman, rather than the bat crashing through his window. The night his parents, the night he decides to become a bat.
Yeah,
so maybe.
Become a man in one of those poppy up toy things instead.
A Tom. What is Tom Thumb? That's like a Mother Goose story or something?
Yeah, it's like a fairy tale, isn't it? Basically.
And what is it? Just a man who's as big as a thumb?
I'm going to say we've drifted into territory where neither of us now know what we're talking about.
I shall call myself Tom Thumb, and evil has a new enemy, Tom Thumb. Anyway, so Amphibion. Which is really like they couldn't be bothered to name him there, could they? Although, interestingly, his name's Kingsley Rice is his real name. Which is a sort of pun, because Aquaman's name is Arthur Curry.
Ah, okay. Because I was going to say Killy Aquaman.
Curry and Rice. Is that a thing? Well, I mean, it's a thing, but anyway. So, what did you think of Amphibion in this? Where, as a character, is there anything you can say about him, really?
There's not much. I mean, mainly what he does in this issue is crawl out of a sewer dripping wet and be slightly creepy to a female superhero. And that's pretty much all he does. And then makes a point about pointing out that his mother is human.
Well, so they always used to say things like, by Neptune's beard or something.
Yeah.
And he says, by my mother's human heritage.
Yeah.
Just such a hard thing to get out. Do you know what I mean? Perry White in Superman always used to say, great Caesar's ghost. And I always think, they do that in one of the bad films, the one with Brandon Routh in. I think Frank Langella played it. And at one point he goes, great Caesar's ghost. And you realize it's actually a really hard thing to say. If you're just going, bloody hell, do you know what I mean? Great, Caesar's go. It's like, so saying by my mother's human heritage is it's a mouthful, isn't it?
While he's flying through the air and being catapulted into the window of a sort of pet shop.
Into a fish market.
Into a fish. Oh, it's fish market.
I can see it right now. It's a fish market. Yeah, and it's weird. This like they're trying to touch on women's lib and stuff, but they're sort of like going, yeah, but we're not like weird about it.
Oh yeah.
So he's fighting Hellcat. Have you heard of Hellcat before? Very minor character there.
Vaguely.
She's Catwoman, I suppose.
Right. Yeah.
There's literally one called Tigra as well, who I just thought was the same character, but it's not. Women are always cats, sexy cats. The more you analyze this stuff, you realize it's just perv stuff, isn't it? Really? It's just
yeah. Oh,
a woman, but she's like a cat.
We'll talk about perv stuff in a minute.
Okay, sure.
Captain America and Starhawks.
Oh yeah. Oh right, you read that bit. Okay, yes. So she says, Amphi. She call him Amphi straight away. They always give. I don't like in old superhero comics how they always used to give each other nicknames really quickly.
Yeah. Like
they'd be fighting. Like Doc Ock, I guess, is the classic. But then just anyone.
But like Green Goblin, they go straight to calling him things like Gobby. I'm like, oh,
Gobby. Yeah. I mean, you gotta keep. I mean, it only occurred to me the other day because I've grown up with all this stuff, and it's like my weird obsession. Obviously, I'm doing this podcast for a start. It's an absolute waste of everyone's time. Yep. But I feel like they're so ingrained in my head. It was only the other day I was thinking about it, thinking, oh, this is all bullshit, isn't it? Not only will this not happen in real life, but like it just isn't even a connection to anything in real life. Do you know what I mean? It's not like the police or like do you know what I mean? Or like it's just like it's so nebulous and stuff now.
Yeah,
it's in no way related to life. But at the same time, I thought, but they're also wonderful. And for me, especially, being a bit of a neurodiverse person, not even a bit of one, a full-on one, they're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not cat. Yeah. I mean, they are as well, but just superheroes. It's a lovely little escape. It really is.
I'm going to say they're lovely because otherwise we're also undermining the last 40 odd years I've spent reading them. So yeah, they're lovely.
It is that thing. It's like if you're watching a Hollywood movie, you just think, I could watch an Ingmar Bergman film or something. You know what I mean? You read these and then you go, I mean, this isn't even good. It's not even vaguely good, but it's still somehow just hitting this sweet spot, isn't it? Of like,
there's still something.
Get him. Anyway, Hellcat says, Amphi, I'm not a big women's libber. Okay, why not Hellcat for a start? And you're probably the most handsome man I've seen in weeks. What? But I'm going to lay you out for that.
Yeah.
It's you're mixing messages. What are you saying here, Steve Englehart?
It's another thing like, well, I don't really think that women should have much equality and you are quite fit, but I'm going to punch you anyway.
Yeah.
It's just a weird message in general. I don't really get what he's trying to say with that.
Do you think he's trying to get it right for the editors and such, maybe?
Maybe
he just doesn't. Maybe he can only go so far. He mention women's lib, but make sure you make it really clear that we don't really agree with it. Well, in which case you could say, why put it in at all? Do you know what I mean? But
yeah, I don't know.
He's a lot like, which is, must be coincidence, because I don't think Aquaman was like this at this point. Obviously, in the 90s, he became like the big beardy sort of tough guy. But I think back in the day, he was just like a sort of very nothingy, square-jawed type. But he's a bit like in this, as you say, very creepy, and feels like the character from The Boys. Did you watch The Boys?
Yeah, I watched the first series of that. I haven't watched all.
The sort of Aquaman analog.
Yeah,
it's very like that.
Yeah,
you immediately reminded me of that.
Things like it's not our habit to harm the weaker sex. It's that creepy kind of.
Yeah, and as he's saying it, his teeth and eye are glinting.
Yeah, and he's soaking wet.
Yeah. Well, is that meant to be the water, do you think? I don't get why they're glinting.
I think it's the water because he's just crawled out of the sewer.
But it's also like gives him like a sort of demonic salesman look.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird. Also, he just literally jumps past her and crashes into a window and he's out the fight. So, yeah. I mean...
And that's it. We don't see him for the rest
of the I'd still be in the fight at that point. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, so that's Amphibion. Don't think we've got anything else to say about him, have we?
He doesn't do anything else.
That's him. That's him done. Okay, moving on to a much, not necessarily particularly more fun character, but a great couple of comics that I loved. I don't know if did you manage to read them both, Nick?
Yeah. And these were ones that I read ages ago when I first sort of blitzed my way through X-Men.
Did you do the whole X-Men journey?
Yeah, I've read that's X-Men is the only Marvel comic where I've read all of the main issues for that. Not
it's same here, buddy.
So I've read all of Uncanny and regular X-Men and as many tie-ins as fit in and a few other bits like X Factor. But
yeah, I don't think I did. I've never got through all of X Factor because I love the sort of later Peter David stuff, but the early stuff is quite odd.
Yeah.
Just quite boring. Really boring.
Yeah, it's a bit, some of it was a slog, but this was back in the day where I would slog through comics just to say I'd got through all of the run.
And were you reading them online or did you have physical? Were you hunting down
I had physical ones back then. I used to have a huge physical collection of comics, which I sold many years ago.
Mine.
Then I had things like the essentials to get all of the early issues like that before.
They were pretty handy. I remember this guy in the comic shop in Nottingham where I used to go page 45, which was very sort of cool and lovely, like an amazing shop, but also definitely looked down on me for getting those. Like I bought them as like 14-year-old boy or something. He's like, can I just ask, why are you actually buying these? He was like really annoyed because he wanted me to buy like, Robert Crumb and Daniel Klaus and all that stuff. And I'm like there, we're like, can I get some Slacksman, please? Because they're all in black and white. It's not quality.
Yeah.
It's not even the paper. But that was the point. You could get them all for like a tenner.
Yeah. You would get 25, 30 issues for 10 quid. Yes, in black and white, but it was the only way you were going to read them back then without spending hundreds of thousands of pounds to get all of those sort of 70s, 60s.
All the originals.
Yeah.
So I forgot how good these were. Yeah. And they shouldn't be good because the setup is not great. Like, it's stupid. But it's X-Men from the original 1963 run, issues 62 and 63. If you want to be specific, I did very specifically go into how much if you want to read just these, there are particular pages you have to read. He's not in it much. Amphibious. We're on Amphibious now. But so much fun. Yeah. The X-Men go to the Savage Land. I don't know why at the beginning, but it's Neil Adams is doing the art is the main thing, and Roy Thomas is writing it. Roy Thomas, not a great writer, but this is fine. But the artwork is wonderful.
Yeah, I was really, what I found interesting was this because it's Neil Adams, looks a lot more modern than the Avengers one we just read, which is like 10 years later.
Yeah. Oh, is it 10 years later?
Or about that. It's the Avengers.
Oh, it's so good. 70s. And
this is from the 60s.
Sorry?
The Avengers one was from like the late 70s and this is the late 60s.
Oh, yeah. But you've got just basically just panel layout and stuff. You've got arms, punches coming outside of the panel. I'd say with that Avengers one we read, it's very much a case of like that's the kind of one where people who don't get superheroes at all would think like that. And it's awful. Whereas this is beautiful. It's genuinely beautiful artwork, isn't it? And coloring and everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, the X-Men have gone to the Savage Land, and the most incredible character in it has to be Kazar, who is one of the worst characters on paper. He's basically Tarzan, but with dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea. But there's one moment where he's this pre-Wolverine. He's more Wolverine than Wolverine. He's that bit where there's a baddie called the Piper, and he finds him, and across 3 panels, he just like silently picks him up. Oh yeah, the Piper is playing a flute, playing a pipe.
Yeah.
And the pipe causes a monster to attack them or something. And Kazar goes around the back, just picks him up by the head, and he's holding him silently, there's no words, by the head, and just presses with his thumb his forehead. And well, you don't know if it kills him or knocks him out. I assume he's just knocked him out. But God, he's so savage and mean, and like he just like Iceman like asks him a question and he just like slaps him back slaps him across the face. It's really like he's so good in this. He's such a horrible character, but really I love him.
But which feels at odds with the fact that his actual name is Kevin.
Yeah, not just Kevin, Sir Kevin Blunder.
Sir Kevin Blunder, which definitely feels like one of Anaman's husbands.
Sir Kevin Blunder. Oh yeah. We lost him in the Savage Land some years ago. I think his story is just that he was grew up in the Savage Land, but with saber-toothed tigers rather than cheetahs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's great. So I had to mention him. But apart from that, Nick, what any other thoughts on these? Amphibious himself. Do you want to talk a bit about him? I'm aware I'm
I
banging on.
I liked Amphibious much more than Amphibion. Like I like the look of him is great. It's proper like frogman, but with like bionic backpack and sort of stuff on his arms. And
Yeah,
it
it reminds me. It'd be a good toy, wouldn't he? If you
Yeah.
like, kind of in a Turtles type way or something. It'd be
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
really satisfying toy if you're a kid. A
Yeah.
frogman with guns and a backpack.
And I sort of in my head, he sounded like sort of Peter Lorre in Casablanca because he's got that sort of servanty vibe to him. That sort of, you despise me, don't you?
Exactly, master the plans.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Okay, but Rodel with a bit more of a sort of,
Bit froggy.
man frog. There is actually a line that I've written down. My favorite line from this is just, "There's that man frog again."
Yeah.
I can't remember who says it or why. Well, I know why, but just obviously it's meant with, "There's that man frog again." But I like it. We're like, "Oh, there's that man frog again."
Yeah.
There's that bloody dog again. There's that bloody bloke next door. He's in the garden again. All that sort of thing. Yeah, but he's basically like Toad, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but without the tongue.
Not much difference. Without the tongue.
Yeah.
Apparently he does get the tongue as well when he comes back. He comes back in this thing called the Beast Brigade or something.
Sounds about right.
I had a look at it just to see, but this is his, I'm afraid this is his best appearance by far.
I thought he felt really tragic because at the end they all get sort of turned back when the machine gets switched off.
Yeah.
And he still just looks like a frog person, just without the green skin.
But I love how it's like the same face, but yeah.
He just looks really depressed because now he just looks like a frog, but he can't jump around anymore.
This doesn't sound like the nicest thing I'm ever going to say, but he looks like someone you'd see hanging outside Ladbrokes betting shop. Do you know what I mean? With a fag on. He really looks quite down at heel. Is that He looks like life has dealt him some blows. I mean, so to explain, they're all savages from the Savage Land. They're kind of cavemen who someone has found, experimented on, and turned them into the Savage Land mutates, which isn't the best title. But there's Amphibious, who is basically a man frog, as we've said. There's Brainchild, who is a beardy bald man with a gigantic head, the strangest character. There's a line which is, "with a computer-like mind and the emotions of an infant." He's the creepiest thing ever, Brainchild. He's a baby. He's a killer baby, essentially, isn't he? A killer baby with a beard.
I felt as well like they had a convention for the naming that they started with and then gave up on because there's Amphibious and Equilibrious and Barbarous and Brainchild.
Yeah. And also Lupo, who's got this huge mouth. He can talk to wolves. There is one called Gaza, which is Gaza, it's a strange thing to call a supervillain. Won't go into that.
Yeah.
But I assume it's not related to Gaza. I think it's literally just the sound of it. He's a blind giant. He's just a blind giant. Barbarous, I think. Oh, Barbarous has got 4 arms.
Yeah.
And the Piper plays a pipe. And then they bring in Lorelei. So the character who's created them, who Angel is looked after, a man with white hair, seemingly benevolent gentleman, who in a lovely twist at the end, you see at the end of the first episode, you see him say, "Perhaps clothes do make the man," as he strokes the helmet of Magneto.
Yeah, that's a nice reveal.
Did you know he was Magneto?
I'd forgotten because it's so long since I've read these. I was just thinking, oh, okay.
What a nice guy.
Yeah. And what surprised me was we're like 60 odd issues in, and none of them have seen Magneto's face before because Angel doesn't recognize him.
Yeah, but they have, just not.
Have they?
I mean, I like to think if I could just see your nose, mouth, and eyes, and then I saw the rest, I'd still be able to piece it together that it was you. But I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I had a particularly big hat, you just wouldn't.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you just see his eyes, don't you? Because he's kind of in shadow and stuff. Anyway, I don't get why he's lost his powers, has he? Maybe, and
I think he's using his powers to create the mutates, so he can't really use them.
To what end? Did you get to what end?
No, but there very rarely is a clear to what end, I think, in a lot of these comics.
The writing...
Because evil?
The plot and writing do not match the artwork by any level, do I've got to say. But it's a lovely twist when you realise it's Magneto. And then Angel joins him, still not knowing it's a Magneto, and then they sort of fight Khazar and the X-Men, and the Savage Land mutates, and then beat them. Is essentially all that happens.
Pretty much.
He creates this perfect mutant, but they are basically the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, aren't they? Because there's Amphibious is like Toad. Brainchild is kind of like Mastermind. He's a brainy guy with facial hair who looks creepy. Lorelei is a sort of Scarlet Witch. And then you've got Piper and so on. Doesn't really come into it. But yeah, that's Amphibious. I mean,
I like the fact in these ones they're still in that phase as well where at the beginning of one issue, they say, "Oh, Magneto, we thought you were dead," and he's like, "No, I burrowed down and found a network of underground tunnels and escaped." And then about 4 pages later, something falls on him, and he's like, "Oh well, I guess I'm going to die." And then he'll come back again in 5 issues' time with an explanation as to why he didn't die this time again.
I found an underground. He finds a lot of things. There's a whole series where he's found an island that's basically Cthulhu's Island. Did you remember that bit where he's in the Chris Claremont, where he's on like this island and they've got like all Cthulhu statues?
I can't remember that one. It's been a while since I've read
It's a weird, like, where clearly Chris Claremont just likes Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft, and he's gone, what if it's just like a Cthulhu Island for some reason? The story's a lot of fun. I'd urge everyone to read it, but Amphibious himself, he's probably the most important Savage Land mutate.
He's the one that does the most in these 2 issues. He actually says stuff. There's a bit where, like, there's proper exposition lines in there where he says, "Here comes Equilibrius, he whose eyes cause the world to spin," to the person who's created him.
Oh, he says that to Magneto.
To Magneto.
Yeah, I know. I made him, mate. I made him.
But yeah. That was me. I did that.
I find a bit like that. I'm having chats with producers. I find it a bit like that sometimes, where they tell you back your thing that you've created. You're like, yes, I know.
Yes. Have you seen this Anaman character? Absolutely wonderful. It's your sort of thing.
And they go, it's funny because you do this. And you're like, yes. Sorry. Producers are wonderful, and please don't stop giving me chances. But yeah, so he loves the creator. He loves Magneto. He's a suck up to him. He doesn't want to go back to being that guy who hangs out outside Ladbrokes, or the Savage equivalent. He wants to be a big frogman jumping around. Yeah,
with his metal backpack.
Apparently, they get their powers back. What's in that backpack, though?
Frog spawn.
When he just sort of spreads his seed around as he's fighting. Team up with the Wizard. Oh, he's a gross guy. He's got quite almost a beak, hasn't he? He's not really that frog-like.
Yeah.
Facially.
Yeah, they've always got. I find like kind of frog people in comics always got lots of little lines around their mouth as well. It seems to be like frog. Frog and snake means sort of lines around your mouth.
As in on the actual face, or
little just drawn lines to indicate.
to show the folds, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of frogmen, isn't there? There's a lot of like frog characters, ape characters, snake characters, of course. I wonder what part of the animal kingdom hasn't been touched that much by the comic. I mean, there's a lot of cat women, as you said. Not a lot of dog people. Giving you any dog people?
More, they tend to go wolves rather than dog, don't they, really?
Yeah, wolf. Yeah. What about cows? There's Bova. If you've ever come across Bova.
There's Manbull. There's Manbull.
Manbull. The Manbull. Yeah. He's more like the Minotaur. Sheep. Are there many sheep-based characters? Probably not.
No.
Magneto's a fucker, isn't it? I mean, I shouldn't swear, but, mucking around with these savages like that. He's meant to be I mean, really, he's meant to be helping minorities, mutants. He's meant to be standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves. And I'm not sure experimenting on savages. And these are literally savages. They're literally cavemen.
Yeah, I don't know if I guess they change characters as they go along, but like converting humans into mutants doesn't feel very Magneto.
No, although it is the plot of the first X-Men movie, which I thought was rubbish. No, I like the movie, but I thought that was rubbish, that I'm going to use this ray and it's going to turn all humans into mutants.
Yeah.
Yeah, why is he making more mutant? Why is he making mutate? What's he want, that guy? And how old is he?
Yeah.
He goes out with Rogue and he's meant to be like 90. It's so weird. I don't get it. Oh, good old Magneto. I mean, he's top of the list at the minute, So finally, we get to Anaconda. There's probably a bit more to talk about here, even though the comic was absolute dog crap, I've got to say.
See, this is like, for a long time, I was not interested in Captain America, and this comic is very much, this era is the sort of reason why I was not fussed by it. It felt very administrative. It felt like there's just a lot of admin going on in the comic. There's a lot of things about him helping his partner wind up her shop and him looking for a job. And it feels like the fight with Anaconda is secondary to a lot of admin going on.
Yeah, so she's on the cover fighting him. Yeah, there's a lot of admin. The whole comic's admin based, actually. We'll get to that in a sec, but a lot of bureaucracy involved. It really is like someone sort of like, you know what kids need when they read these superhero comics? They need like rules and regulations and explanations of how superhero and super villain groups sort of do their basic admin and their HR. That's what kids want.
Yeah.
Anyway, I must not swear. So her real name is Blanche Sitznitz. 6'2", 100 kilograms, green eyes and blonde hair. She was actually created in Marvel 2-in-1, number 64, 1980, by Mark Gruenwald. Well, I think did the Squadron Supreme stuff I was talking about, and George Perez again. Now, something you might not know, originally, apparently, she was a steel worker. Then she worked for Taskmaster, so that was how she trained her supervillain abilities. But she got her abilities from Roxxon, which are kind of the Exxon of the Marvel Universe. They're a baddie oil company. Again, a lot of this stuff is very prescient and modern.
Yeah, the evil company stuff did feel modern. And I like the fact that in this issue, you've mentioned there's a lot of snake people. They get all of the snake people together. It's like, why don't we get all of the snake people together? And what we'll do with them is we'll have them talk about creating a union. Okay.
It's satisfying seeing them all, but they all look like bad characters. They're all bad designs.
Yeah.
Aren't they? Who you got? So Sidewinder is the worst design. That's a horrible costume and horrible colors. It's orange and purple.
Yeah, with the sort of frilly neck, weird neck frills that he's got going on as well.
He reminds me a bit of like Jack Lemmon. Lemon, isn't it?
Yeah.
But he looks like quite harassed, quite boring. He also, in his speech, there's actually 2 pages of his speech. He's basically gathered serpents of the world unite. That's what it says. And he's gathered all the serpent-based supervillains that saying they should unionize and work together because he's sick of sort of, not being treated properly and not, they're going to be a guilt. Does he say they'll have like benefits? Yeah. Fringe benefits, work conditions. He's going to help, I guess, pensions and all that stuff, medical insurance.
I think these are things that are terrifying in America, I guess. So that's why villains are talking.
I guess so. Yeah, I saw a chart earlier that was about maternity pay because the UK is pretty low down in how much maternity weeks we get off. They get 0.
Yeah,
absolute 0. Nothing. You get nothing.
And a lot of companies combine sick pay and holiday pay in the States as well.
Right. They combine maternity and holiday.
Your sick days come out of your holiday in a lot of companies in the States.
It's just that it's horrible, isn't it? It's so horrible. And we've all grown up, USA and all that, like wanting to, born in America type stuff. Not born in America, born in the USA. I was thinking of living in America is what I was thinking of. And do you know what I mean? And that whole Rocky thing and, from our generation, that was the 80s and it was all an action heroes and stuff. And you just think it's all based around on this. It's a real Darwinian kind of, if you work hard, if you're strong and you don't mess it up in any way and then you'll do well. And if you don't, then that's it. You're dead. It's really grim. Anyway,
this is weakness. Yeah.
I can understand why Sidewinder is setting up this bloody organization.
Yeah. There was something about him though. It reminded me of the old 90s Harry Hill series. They used to have those Clown 90210 sketches, and every time the Union rep Ben Kingsley would come in at the end, that's what I thought of Sidewinder. It was like, Sidewinder, Union rep.
Ben Kingsley was what? As in they were being Ben Kingsley, or
no? They just had a character called Ben Kingsley who was the Union rep, and he was this sort of northern guy who would come in and tell them they were doing things wrong. And that was all Sidewinder made me think of, just this sort of northern Union rep coming in and telling all the snakes they've been doing everything wrong.
Yeah, I didn't see him as that aggressive. I saw him as more just like kind of, he just keeps talking until you get bored enough to agree with him. Do you know what I mean? It's just sort of like, I imagine he's all at the same tone and just sort of like, so if you turn to page 42, you'll find we've got an explanation of how the benefits will work. And they all go along with it. But yeah, that could totally fit a northern grumpy chap. I saw him as possibly a bit like, the guy who does all the videos about the Tories. He's got that air to him, do you know what I mean? Which is good. These are good people. But somehow they've made him really boring. Again, maybe Marvel Comics is working. They're trying to say, these unions aren't good. Do you want to be like Sidewinder? The worst looking, most boring character in the Marvel universe. There's also a character called the Asp. And God knows what colour what her skin colour is meant to be. It's sort of grey.
Can't work out. One, it looks sort of greenish, and then one, it looks sort of greyish.
I think she's meant to be Egyptian. Yeah, the whole skin color thing was never their strong point around this time, was it? Anyway, Constrictor, who is actually quite a cool character. He's been in a few things. He's a kind of almost Deadpool-like, Taskmaster-like, bit Deadpoolish, not quite Deadpool, but he's a mercenary out for his own skin, all that stuff. He doesn't want to join the Union. The whole point of joining the Union, by the way, is that Sidewinder can teleport. So he says the whole reason you want to join is when you get arrested, I'll teleport you out. Yeah. And that's it. That's kind of the benefit.
Well, if he can teleport, why does he need the Snake Union? Why doesn't he just teleport in and grab stuff?
He just feels like someone who does like church stuff or something. Do you know what I mean? He just wants... Yeah. His desire is for you to kind of follow him and for people to go, yeah, you are good, Sidewinder. It's good. Yeah. You're an important man.
Constrictor, you run bring and buy a table. Black Mamba, you'll be doing the tombola. It's that sort of
very Village Fate feel, very Vicar of Dibley.
Yeah,
feel to this. None of the others say anything hardly. It's just him giving this stuff, and Constrictor kind of Constrictor says, "No way, I don't want to." Then he follows them. He follows some of them to the Brand Corporation, which is actually, they're the people that made the Beast, by the way, or they're the people that the Beast turned blue from in the comics. Little tidbit for you. Basically, he rats on them and makes it so that Captain America finds out, which what I did like was Jarvis phones Captain America and has like a kind of, like in the theatre when we say Mr. Sands, can Mr. Sands report, which means someone's been sick. He has that code, doesn't he, where he, what does he say to him? He says, oh yes, but there's some property you might need to look at. Yeah. And that's his, and not Mr. Knight and Mr. Fox are surveying another property, who he means the Black Knight and Star Fox. So off goes Cap, fights them for a bit. The end is literally what happens. And then what's brilliant, and he has a big fight with Anaconda, and she's very strong. We'll come on to her specifically in a minute. And then right at the end, what's pretty cool, Constrictor, who obviously ratted them out, is in a bar having a drink, goes outside, Anaconda's waiting for him, beats the crap out of him to the point where Cobra, who we see without his mask, and he looks like a lovely bald chap, a lovely bald man, he says, I think you've killed him. But she says, no, I haven't. He'll be all right, and chucks him a quarter to call an ambulance for the bum.
Yeah.
She's tough, Blanche. Blanche is tough.
She feels like she talks like Ben Grimm a bit as well. There's strong Thing vibes there as well.
Have a quarter, but she's vicious.
Yeah.
She's vicious. He does call her a fat lady at one point as well, so he totally deserves a beating. And have you ever read the this sounds very creepy to go on about her body shape, but I thought it was positive that she's just strong.
Yeah.
It's a body positive character, I think. I like it.
Yeah, I think so, because like the only person that calls her fat is a villain that she then beats up.
Yeah, and she
Right.
properly pounds him. I
Yeah.
think she almost comes across quite heroic, or at least I'd much prefer a story that was just a day in the life of Anaconda.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she starts off badly because they give her, again, that whole exposition thing to explain who she is in her like opening sentence. She's like, oh, it's the same thing that turned me into what I am today.
Yes. So she explains quickly that that's why. But I think she likes being Anaconda.
Yeah.
I don't think she has any qualms with villainy.
Yeah. I mean,
she's not bothered about taking over the world. She likes fighting. She likes pounding Captain America's face in. What I didn't like is that her hands, when her arms stretch like an anaconda, her hands turn into these weird pink. It's like all her fingers cement together and they become like these pointy flippers.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, thank you. Also, she's got these two weird chin flippers, which I don't know why that relates to anacondas. I don't know why they're there. And you'd want to pull them off the whole time, wouldn't you, when you were talking to her?
Yeah, I get having like the scales on the cheek. That makes sense. She's
Scales.
Check. Get that. But yeah, I wasn't sure about the weird gills.
It's more amphibious-like, isn't it?
Yeah.
So she's tough. She doesn't muck around. At one point, Captain America punches her hard in the face, and he says something like, "I was pulling my punches because she's a lady. These punches are hard enough to shatter bone." She doesn't even feel it. She laughs him off. How does he beat her in the end? He whacks her in the neck with his shield, potentially decapitating her. But luckily, he says her pulse is still strong. I guess she'll be okay. That's Anaconda.
That was lucky.
I looked a bit more into her history after this. She just sort of joins various incarnations of snakes and serpent societies and turns up. She basically becomes just someone who turns up in when you need like 8 villains.
Go to snake person.
Which I think is a shame. I'd love to read like a kind of, you could do a really funny like She-Hulk and her sharing an apartment type thing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or like,
I think you want to kind
friends or something like that. I don't know.
Or you want to combine her with like, because like her power is pretty much just she's got stretchy arms.
Yes.
Pretty much.
And weird flipper things.
Does, and the weird face flippers. But maybe you want to combine her with like Stilt Man, who's got stretchy legs.
Oh yeah. In a sort of Street Fighter 2, they could combine, couldn't they? And power up. And, wow.
Is there someone with a stretchy neck as well? I feel like that.
I mean, there's Mr. Fantastic.
He does all the stretching, doesn't he?
There's a guy from Masters of the Universe called Mechaneck. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
His whole power was he literally just had a extendable neck. So he could see over fences.
Yeah. I mean, that high fence was no problem.
The amount of surgery. Imagine, because I don't know if the Masters of the Universe, we're going off topic, obviously, but whether they were just born with these things or whether like they, you know what I mean? Because it was a weird mix of magic and science, but presumably someone experimented on a man or did that surgery on him.
I mean,
to
they must
embed.
have, if he's Mechaneck, they've obviously done some kind of mechanical stuff to him.
Yeah, well, presumably he wasn't born like that, and they went, "Oh, we'll have to call him Mechaneck then."
Yeah.
Our beautiful child with his. I'd love to do a sort of deconstruction of Masters of the Universe where we just looked at those, because apparently I've seen the documentaries about it on Netflix and stuff, and apparently the actual, as they were going on, they were just like seeing what's the worst idea we can come out with and stuff like that. Like there's one called Snout Spout who has an elephant head, and you can shoot water out of his nose. But yeah, Mechaneck is just like, yeah, I just love the idea that they've done all that surgery on him and he goes, under the anesthetic, and he's like really excited about coming out as sort of He-Man. And they go, and then he sees what they've done, and they've just made it. They've done this horrific surgery and given him an entire metal telescopic neck. And his one thing is he can look over only like another foot or so, probably maybe 2 feet.
Just medium to high walls.
Yeah. I don't think it can like go into space or anything. I think he can just sit a bit higher.
Might get
upstairs.
First floor window, maybe.
Yeah, not quite the second floor.
No, that's pushing it.
Anyway, that's Mech and Egg. So someone did that to her arms. I don't think she got a good deal, really. I feel like that's bad news all around.
The other thing I found weird about this comic. The other thing I found weird about this comic is Captain America spends most of the time worrying about trying to draw comics for Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Which felt a bit weird.
I think it's meant to be kind of sweet, but it just comes across as eggy.
Yeah.
He phones up Marvel Comics and says, but there's no humor in it. Do you know? There's no like kind of, because they used to do it with Stan and Jack with the Fantastic Four, where like Doctor Doom would come to their offices and stuff, and it's all fun. Whereas this is just like, it just sounds like someone trying to get a job, and it's quite tedious. And
yeah, it just felt a bit depressing. And it also felt like he just wanted to get the fight over with so he could get back and carry on doing a bit of drawing.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
He's got no, like, he's not tough in any way, is he? He's like, I mean, I like the idea that he's a sensitive guy, but he's like, he's really wet.
Yeah, it's just dull. It just felt like a dull thing to do.
He's a dull man.
Yeah, I mean, I started reading Captain America when Ed Brubaker took over and the whole Winter Soldier thing. I suddenly got the appeal then.
It goes all spy-like, doesn't it?
Yeah, but this stuff was like, oh, I see why I didn't like it. It's boring.
Yeah. What's the point of this guy? I'm glad Anaconda beat the crap out of him. There's a line where he says, it's difficult to tell with these superhuman sorts. He's such a nerd. He's so like dull. Ugh. What were you going to say about Star Fox?
Oh yeah, he's weird.
Starts where he's training Star Fox and Black Knight.
Yeah, that's just at the start, and it feels to me like Star Fox's power in those first few pages. I don't really know much about Star Fox to be honest.
Yeah,
I feel like his power is to just be a bit pervy.
Yeah, he just makes you love him.
All it is. Like his first
I don't think it's even that he can control your emotions. He just makes you love him.
Yeah. So his first line was like, haha, watch your backside, Captain. And it felt a bit like, okay, where are we going with this? And then he's like, I know what, I will stimulate the pleasure centers of your brain. I'm like, okay, this is a weird.
But Captain America goes, I was ready for that, doesn't it? It's supposed to be like, but I was ready for that, so it didn't work. No, what? But I thought you might try that, so I just made sure I didn't feel any pleasure.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know.
Yeah. It's the whole thing just felt very like I didn't from this I didn't really get a sense of what Star Fox was apart from a bit creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that has continued. I think in She-Hulk and stuff, in the modern era, they've definitely played on that and sort of said, so he's Thanos' brother. He appears at the Eternals. Harry Styles plays him. But yeah, they have done him as like he's a problematic character going forwards because he makes people fall in love. There was a lot of this in the 70s. There was a lot of like people making people fall in love with it and then everyone being okay with it. Yeah. Again, I think it's that thing where maybe they're trying to explore interesting things, but the constant thing of having to make it acceptable to their editors maybe just. It's that thing, so this is what me and my wife always say, it's like with our son, like when he's on the slide, it's like go down the slide or don't go down the slide. But it's like when he sort of half goes down the slide is when he falls off and bangs his head. Do you know what I mean? And I try and remember that in life. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like I do that a lot where it's like, just do it or don't do it.
Commit or don't.
Doing a thing later. Yeah. Yeah, okay. We've learned a lot from these three wonderful, really boring issues. No. The X-Men ones are great.
The X-Men ones are great. I really enjoy
rubbish comics and 3 not great characters. But where do we put them in the list? So I don't think you've got the list in front of you, Nick. But
I think
quite a few of the episodes.
I think you shared it with me.
Did I share that one with you as well?
Oh.
The Order.
It's at the bottom of the document, isn't it?
Oh yes, but it might not be up to date. I'm going to update it right now.
I have listened to them all though. I'm up to date.
You've heard that you're up to date, which is amazing. You're our one listener.
Oh, and now I'm on it, so I won't be listening to this one. That's it. That's
you got to hear your own voice. Right, here we go. Okay, so number 1 is still Magneto.
Yeah.
Who I think, if anything, this episode brought him down a bit, but we'll keep him there. We'll keep him there. I'm not going to go through the whole list, but I would say, okay, who first? Amphibion. He's got to be very low down, surely.
He's low. There wasn't much to him at all.
Above Albion, I'd say, who is basically
Yeah.
a weird right-wing English guy from another dimension. Adam
Yeah,
Destine, very boring.
I think he goes above the right winger.
Okay. Amphibion, very nothingy. And to be fair, he is created just as a parody, but they don't get the parody right, do they? Quite frankly. Amphibious, I think we can go up a bit.
Yeah.
Do we prefer him to Alita? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Alex Power. I mean, he's not as developed a character as Alex Power, but Alex Power's quite annoying.
He's around that level.
Let's put him between Alexander Pierce and Alex Power.
Yeah.
Between two Alexes, we'll call that move that I just made. Anaconda. Want to above Amphibious? This is so much fun.
Yeah. She was fun.
Is she okay? So our level our two levels we tend to go for are: is she better than Absorbing Man?
No, I don't think she's better than Absorbing Man.
Okay, so is she better than the Abomination? I prefer her as a character, but she's got long arms.
I mean, Abomination's like long-lived, isn't he? But does that make him any good?
Okay, let's put her below Abomination.
Yeah.
There we go. Above Alexander Pierce.
Yeah. She was fun, though.
He's hardly in anything, but he's quite a fun character. Great. We did it, Nick. We did it. We did it. And we did it. Nick Crick / Kirk, thank you so much for coming on this podcast today.
/ Dan too.
Hopefully Dan is fine. Hopefully Jamie is fine, but we'll have you back at some point, I'm sure, Nick, because those boys are constantly finding anything they can to get out of it. What have you got anything coming up to tell us about, or anything out there online people can find you on?
I have. Depends when this goes up, but I've got a show at Faversham Fringe on October the 13th.
Okay, yep, it'll be up before then. October the 13th. Perfect. What's it called?
It's called Absolute Nick Head (brackets Kirk in Progress).
Great, good title. Two good titles. One. I mean, you're already winning. Lovely. Thanks so much, Nick. And thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you next time, where we meet, I think, Apocalypse. Or maybe we're jumping forward a bit. I don't know. I can't remember. But thank you, everyone, for listening. And goodbye from me. And goodbye from the wonderful Nick Kirk.
Bye.
You have been listening to A-Bomb to Zzzax, my favorite Marvel character, with me, Colin Holt, and my friends Dan Snellgrove and Jamie Firth. There they go! Please remember to support us at patreon.com/A-Bomb to Zzzax.